So, Jaycee Horn will miss the remainder of OTAs with a foot injury sustained while working out on his own time. And of course, we got to talk about it. You're listening to Money in the Bank. Yes, you heard that correctly. Jaycee Horn will miss the remainder of OTAs with a foot injury, and he will be in the walking booth for the remainder of OTAs as well. Now, I understand the angst that comes up and arises in Panthers fans when I say Jaycee Horn injury and that injury being a foot. I understand that you think the worst, but calm down. Our good friends over at Carolina Blitz have informed us that he will be back by the beginning of training camp. This is an injury that will require no surgeries, so he'll be fine. He'll rest up. He'll be back by training camp, and all will be well. Mind you, have to understand training camp is right around the corner, so it kind of tells you how significant this injury is. Like, it's not very, at least in my mind. That's kind of what I took from it. But I understand the narratives now are starting to be pushed about Jaycee Horn and about his playing career and whether he's an injury-prone player or not. And while I wouldn't necessarily define him as an injury-prone player, because of some kind of semantics on my part, I understand that people are starting to push that narrative. I won't be one to do so. In my mind, I think an injury-prone player is a guy that has a continuous soft tissue injuries. I think hamstrings, groins, those types of things that can be fixed by your training regimen, your diet, things of that nature that can be taken care of by you, the player. I consider those injuries to be ones that would make you an injury-prone player. Like, I mean, that's that. But that's just my opinion on that. But I do understand the worry about Dante Jackson also being out and our cornerback depth without JC being on the field. Now, what I will tell you all is that I'm not sure, right? And y'all fact check me on this one. I don't believe we play a game this Sunday. But again, fact check me on that. I may be wrong. Maybe I'm tripping. But we don't play a game this Sunday, so there's not much to worry about in terms of what our depth looks like right now, because the injury situation with Jaycee Horn isn't dire, and Dante Jackson will be working his way back eventually, but that will take some time. Now, when you start looking at the guys that we have, guys like Keith Taylor, guys like C.J. Henderson, and then you start talking about guys like Rajon Wright, that was an undrafted free agent signing, and Stanley Oliver Thomas, who was a late round draft pick a few years ago that has made his stay on this team with special teams. You look at our cornerback depth and you say, wow, we don't have a whole lot here. But the wonder would be, why haven't we tried to go get a veteran corner to come in and play for us? I think the same reason why you haven't seen this coaching staff go add any edge rushers to a group that we think is very much unproven outside of Brian Burns. They are wanting to look within. I think that they also understand that certain guys are not going to want to come to Carolina just for the sake of playing. They want to play for a situation that can net them a championship. I know the name Marcus Peters came up. Obviously a guy that, that has been a great pro for the entirety of his career, a guy that has a knack for getting the football in his hands and taking it the other way. Also a guy that battles injuries as well. I don't know if he's necessarily the stable piece that you would need him to be. I'm not so sure about that one, and I'm not so sure that he would even want to come to this situation anyway. That's one of those types of situations where you have to think big picture when you look at the player and what he wants as well, not just what your team needs. So I think that's where we're at in terms of that situation. But overall, there's not much to worry about here. He will be back. We will be, we will have him slated to start week 1 of this season. And I think we all should just relax and just let the process play itself out. In other news, the Carolina Panthers have named Bryce Young QB1 during OTAs. This comes as no surprise to me. Should come as no surprise to the people that have listened to this podcast to this point, and that we've all thought that it would not take long for Bryce Young to be elevated to the number 1 QB spot, and that Andy Dalton, we knew what he was here for. He's here to be a backup. He's here to be a mentor. Hopefully he can bring a lot of insight to Bryce Young that helps him further his process along and accelerates his learning curve, and that we can get high-level QB play as early as probably next season by our number 1 draft pick. Again, this does bring a calmness and a happiness to should be a lot of fans that should feel excited about this, right? Having a guy that can command the locker room. He seemed to have the respect of his peers already. People seem to sing his praises very highly around the locker room. Seems to have command of the huddle. Seems to have the trust of the guys around him, and that his ability to his willingness to want to just lock in and get into the playbook and learn it to the point where the coaching staff feels comfortable enough to name him QB1 at this point in June, right? So we haven't had to wait very long, and I like this. I love it actually, because going into training camp, there are no storylines about, oh, will he start week 1? That's out. The whole are you gonna wait till he's ready? This is a tough game. No. He's ready to play now. We're gonna play him, and this is who we're rolling with. This is our number 1 draft pick. The hell would we look like if we were too afraid to play him against other NFL competition? That's crazy. But again, this is something that I've expected. I think it's something that all the fans have expected, and it's something that we should feel excited about hearing, because this means you have solid quarterback play right now. And this also means that we can look to other positions and see if, all right, maybe we should add something here, add something there. Hopefully we're at that stage of where we can start looking at how to make this squad better. And hopefully Bryce Young is a piece that will further that process along. But you've been listening to Money in the Bank. I'm your host, Shanti Stewart. This is the Panthers Nation, the P1N Network podcast. And I'm out.